Welcome to the Bold and Gold podcast. This is a podcast about Georgia Tech football. I am Elijah Winfrey. Joining me is Patience Veach today. Patience, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Very excited to be talking about Georgia Tech football with you. And I want to make sure that people know right out the gate, how you and I became Georgia Tech football fans. So I want to toss it over to you, Patience. How did you become a fan of the Yellow Jackets?
Well, it was about, I was born in 2003 and I'm telling my age. So I know I haven't been a fan as long as other fans and, I haven't been to as many games attending. But back in 1990, actually, my dad and his dad were randomly flipping through channels one afternoon and there popped a Georgia Tech game out of nowhere. And, he really didn't know much about Georgia Tech at the time. But after that game he was watching, he really became interested in Georgia Tech. And finally, after those few years, in 2007, he attended his first in-person Georgia Tech game and then decided, hey, why don't I bring my kids along? So in 2008, I attended my first game. And ever since then, I've had such a love for football and Georgia Tech in general. And then after 2008, we got season tickets and we've been going every year to games since then. And if you just go look at my Twitter, you'll know how big of a fan I am. So, and no matter the record, who the head coach is, what the team is wearing, I'll always be there cheering them on. But, it's kind of short and sweet, but, ever since I attended my first game, I've really enjoyed football, not just football, but all of the Georgia Tech sports, but mainly football, because that's what I first fell in love with. And we've been going to games ever since and are continuing to go to games. This is our 15th year. Yes, this is our 15th year with season tickets. So I like to say I've been a fan since birth. So, it's short and sweet, but that's just a little backstory to how I became a fan. So, yeah.
That's very cool. It's always nice whenever you're born into it and you choose the team that your dad wants you to choose. Because I didn't do that because my dad's a Florida State fan. So, but I became a fan of Georgia Tech. Actually in a game that most people probably would have expected me to choose the other team, to be perfectly honest. So back in 2002, obviously, Georgia Tech were playing Georgia. It didn't end well for Georgia Tech, but I was a little kid. I remembered, the gold uniforms, the gold helmets, and that's what drew me in. So I couldn't care less about the fact that the other team was winning, and we won't mention the other team's name, but I think we all get it. And so that next season, 2003, I really, kind of dived in as a little kid into, all things Georgia Tech football, and the quarterback at the time, Reggie Ball, and just how he played the game. He might have been smaller than some of the other guys out there, but you couldn't tell that based on the way that he played football. So, players like him, players like Tashard Choice, Calvin Johnson, they really made me fall in love even further with Georgia Tech football. Now, unlike Patience, I have never been to a game before. So when Patience is posting on Twitter all these things with her and the players and all that, I'm very jealous. Okay, very very jealous. But I've never been to a game. But I used to live in the Atlanta area. Moved around a lot. Now I'm in New York, and I just want to go ahead and clarify this from the jump. When I say New York, I do not mean New York City. I am talking, if I walk out my backyard right now and I go 10 minutes north, I'm in Canada. Okay, so that's where I am. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, you love the Statue of Liberty." I'm like, I do when I see it in photos from other people's timelines, because I live nowhere near there. So I've been in Messina, New York, is where I'm out of, and I've been up here since 2013. And I had one opportunity, kind of sounded like an Eminem song right now, but I had one opportunity to go to a Tech game. I was going to go and watch them play at Syracuse. And then COVID happened. And
they got canceled.
Yeah. And of course, the announcers the entire time had to really ham it up, saying, well, this is the first time in 100 years that Georgia Tech has come to play. I'm like, are you serious right now? I'm already, like, why do you got to do that to me? So anyway, I've been a Georgia Tech fan, obviously, like I said, since 2002. I recently got the opportunity, I believe it was 2 years ago now, to actually take my wife Cassandra. Well, she took me because I don't drive, but we got to go back to Georgia to visit some family members. We got to go visit the Georgia Tech football field, and I've already told Patience this story before, but we got close to the field itself, and I didn't actually go out onto the field, obviously, but we got some pretty good photos of the Georgia Tech football field. But unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings whenever I was having the photos taken, and so my photo where I'm all proud that I'm like standing like just a few hundred yards away from the field, I've got a blue trash can in the back of so yeah, that was that was kind of unfortunate, but huge Tech fan, never been to a game. That is my hope, is that I will eventually get to
One day it will happen for
so
sure.
yeah,
It's gotta
I'm
happen.
hoping. So powers that be, if you're watching this podcast, Messina, New York, I will be there. But obviously, part of this whole podcast is, interacting with folks who are watching this. So if you're watching this and you got your own story of how you became a Tech fan, please feel free to comment it below. And because this is going to be shown on YouTube, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I promise I won't be too obnoxious with saying that, but I'll say it one more time: like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me and Patience out. And comment your stories down there, but also comment any questions you might have, because that helps Patience and I whenever we're trying to figure out like what to talk about next. So comment anything you got for us. I promise you we will look at those, we will read those, and hey, who knows, it could be featured on next week's episode of Bold and Gold. Patience, you had the opportunity here, which is, again, I'm jealous, but you had the opportunity to go to Fan Day. So for folks like me who don't have the private jet to get down there, what was that like? And just tell people a little bit about what that event is. I mean, obviously there probably won't be another one until next season, but if we know about it now, we can put it on the schedule.
Right. So basically, fan day is when you have a day to just be able to talk with players, talk with coaches, get to know them, kind of have a one-on-one thing. And that's actually what fan day really was this year. I mean, last year we really didn't get to have that experience with COVID and different things going on. But I actually enjoyed it this year. They had a lot of activities for the kids, and they even had drills that you could take part in with some of the players, and that was awesome. But I really loved how personal it was. You could just, like, players were standing just all over. It was in the John and Mary Brock facility, and players were just standing everywhere. Like, you really just go up and just start talking to them, and that's really what I did. And you could also take part in the drills, which I did not, because I did not want to break every bone in my body. I did not want to make a fool of myself, so I did not. I just watched everybody else because I felt better doing that.
Okay.
But they had a line that this time they actually had a line for Coach Collins and the quarterbacks. But everybody else, they were just standing around where you could just go up and talk to them. So obviously I waited in both lines for a very long time, but it was definitely well worth it at the end. I got to meet guys like Jeff Sims, Zach Pyron, Zach Gibson. I won't mention the other guy's name because I do not want to, I don't want to say his name wrong. But the Clemson transfer, he was a great guy. I feel bad because I do not want to butcher his name. And they even gave away, there were some staff, there were some other coaches around that we talked to. I had the chance to talk with Chip Long, Coach Winky, Coach Daniels, different guys like that, which they were all super sweet. It was such an amazing experience. They even had, they were giving out stickers and gear and different things that you could do, raffles and all that. And it really made it enjoyable for us as fans, because we haven't had that in a while. And we used to have it where they would have like booths set up for different positions. You would go up to, they would be sitting at tables and all that stuff, back in the old days. But this year, personally, it was my favorite, only because I was able to just go up to them, talk to them, didn't have a time limit, didn't have people waiting behind me. You could just come and go as you please. So that was really enjoyable to be. I really enjoyed it, and I really hope they do it again next year the way they did it this year, because I think it really made it a better experience for everybody to be able to enjoy it and get to know the guys a little more on a personal level.
For sure. And my understanding is that this event was free, right?
Yes, correct. Yes, sir. It was free. They even had a scrimmage beforehand that you could go see in Bobby Dodd Stadium. It was open. Well, it wasn't open to the public, but it was open to season ticket holders and families. So us, being season ticket holders, we were able to go and watch them have a scrimmage, and it was incredible. But I won't give away a lot of stuff because you'll just have to wait and see the season how they look.
Well, hey,
I feel like
I'm
a
glad.
coach saying that.
I'm glad that you got the opportunity to take that in, as did other fans. And I always say this, and I say this not as like a mean thing, but I always say, listen, okay, I'm dying to go to any of these things. So if you live in the area, like, you need to go, okay? And if for
Do
anything,
it.
go for me, okay? And like, take some photos, send them my way, post comments, whatever, so that I can feel like I'm a part of the experience. Because
That's why I do it on
up here it's
Twitter.
mostly Syracuse. They want me to watch Syracuse, and I don't want to do that. So
Why would you? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, it's rough. I do remember, and I'll throw this in there real quick, and I promise I don't want to talk about Syracuse forever, but I do remember one year I was so excited because I finally got cable, because I'm not somebody who usually gets cable. Like, I'll watch on the apps or whatever. So I finally got cable. It was supposed to be Georgia Tech and Georgia playing. I turn on the game. It's Syracuse and Boston College. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And my wife was like, it's going to be okay. So thankfully, I was able to listen to the broadcast on the Georgia Tech app, which I highly recommend. And that, made the experience, even more exciting, because you can't see what's going on. You
Right.
have to wait until the announcer says what's going on. And then you either.
Anticipation.
Yeah, exactly. So we do have the upcoming schedule, as I hope every Georgia Tech fan has. I've got mine on the fridge, but I've also got one here with me. And I just wanted to go through it here with patience, because I know we don't have a ton of time left, but I know folks would be a little disappointed if we didn't mention the schedule with the season so close to starting. So first game up is Clemson. Obviously, that game's going to be at Mercedes-Benz on September 5th. My initial thoughts on this game is that I don't feel like people are really giving Tech a chance. And it's interesting to me that they're choosing not to give Tech a chance when Georgia Tech played them so close last year.
So close.
I don't really understand their reasoning with that one. Because like I said, if I remember correctly, Georgia Tech had a lot of players injured in that game. And I think the final score was like 14-8, if I'm not mistaken. So for me, I feel like they're not giving Tech enough credit. They're buying that hype that they always do. And it's usually the same teams that get all the hype bought, which is like Miami or, Notre Dame or Texas, teams that were like really good in the mid 2000s or have a great history. At the beginning of the season, it's like they can do no wrong. And, any stumbling they did last year is quickly forgot. So I think this is going to be a good opportunity here for Georgia Tech to pull off an upset. I don't have a final score prediction, but I do think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I know ESPN was saying something like 97% they thought Clemson was going to win. So I think it'll be a lot closer. Patience, what do you think?
My initial thoughts are go big or go home. I mean, start out the year 1-0, get on your feet right away. I mean, they definitely don't give you an easy game to start with, being in this rebuild. And I know people are like, oh, rebuild, we've heard that the last 4 years, whatever. But I mean, if you look at what they went through, going from the triple option to now to what we're doing, they had a lot to rebuild. Mm-hmm. So I think this year, go big or go home, start out 1-0, or at least make it a close game. If you don't win, at least make it close to show people that we're serious about you. We have the mindset that we want to win. We're not just going to lay down and fall flat on our faces. So my thing is just because like you said, last year, so close. It was a 4th and goal that they lost. So it's my thing is whether they win or not, just show people that you are trying, that you want to get more than 3 wins this year, and I don't have a final prediction, but I do smell an upset brewing. And I know I'm partial, but I really do think people are sleeping on Georgia Tech. And I know they're like, oh, well, how can you say that when they've had three win season, but like I was saying to somebody the other day, they have this silent confidence that not many people see, but with just that fan day talking to the guys, you could just feel it in them. You could feel that they're definitely coming into this year with a different mindset and you can tell the communication as a whole is so much better. And you can tell that the new coaches coming in, they've all connected instantly. Like they've just been friends for years and coaches and all that. So, but with this Clemson game, I really think just win, man. Win 21 was our motto last year. Why not win 22? No, I don't have a final score either, but I do think that they could upset them easily. And I think people may be overhyping Clemson just a little bit, but again, that's coming from me and I'm very partial. So, we'll just see what happens on September 5th. That's all we can do. Just hope for the best.
And I do want to note briefly here as we continue through the schedule, Clemson is in a little bit of a similar situation to Georgia Tech. And when I say that, people are going to be like, what are you talking about? Well, here's what I'm talking about. Clemson has got a new offensive coordinator. They got a new defensive coordinator because both of the folks who were doing that for them last year are now head coaches other places. Georgia Tech doesn't have a new defensive coordinator, but Jeff Collins has been helping out over there. And obviously the offensive side of the ball has got a lot of new coaches over there. So that's another reason why I kind of feel like this might be a little closer than people give it credit for, because you got two coaching staffs who are going to be trying to communicate, doing everything they possibly can on live television in front of probably a packed house. And that can be difficult. And there can be, things that creep up with that because you're not playing against yourself anymore. You're playing against the other team. So it'll be interesting, I think. And that is something I think people should mention. They're not going to, but I think they should mention that and keep an eye on it. The fact that, hey, both staffs have got new people in some pretty power positions on their coaching staffs. Moving along here, because we're running out of time. We got Western Carolina coming up September 10th. I wanted to make a mention of this. Jeff Collins is a Western Carolina University alumnus, so I'm pretty sure he's going to want that victory. I think he wants every victory, but I'm sure he definitely wants that one. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. September 17th, we got Ole Miss. That's another home game. By the way, if you're keeping track at home, that's 3 home games because obviously they count Mercedes-Benz as a home game. So that's three home games to start the season, which is pretty cool. Then September 24th, they go on the road to UCF. October 1st, they're at Pittsburgh. October 8th, they've got a home game against Duke. October 20th, a home game against Virginia. October 29th, that'll be the one that the Winfrey household's watching and paying great attention to because that'll be at Florida State. So I guarantee you my phone will be lit up by my father. So that'll be hopefully I am messaging him more trash talk than he is me, but we'll see.
Yes.
And then, of course, you got November 5th at Virginia Tech. November 12th is a home game against Miami. November 19th at North Carolina, and November 26th at Georgia. Patience, I went through the list kind of quick there, but what games stick out to you as ones you're excited about?
The hardest ones there is Clemson being the first. I wrote these down actually. Clemson, I think Ole Miss is a great challenge for us, getting to see Lane Kiffin and Bobby Dodd. UCF is always, we've tried to play them, and the last time we played them, it did not go in our favor. The year before it got canceled and all that stuff. So I think and of course, Georgia, which we know how the past few years have gone. But I really think the most ones that stick out to me would probably be Clemson, Ole Miss, and UCF. Those are big ones. I'm not including the ACC, besides Clemson, the other ACC games. But I really think those could be a good challenge for us. And, like the quote says, in order to be the best, you have to beat the best. So I think that is definitely going to be the motto this year. And this is what we're trying to do. So, I definitely think Ole Miss and UCF and Clemson are my biggest that stick out. But, Virginia Tech, coming in, there's teams that have new coaches like Virginia Tech, Virginia, different teams like that. It could be good for us. We could come out with a win. That's all. That's my hope is we come out with a win. So we'll see how it all pans out. But I definitely think Ole Miss and UCF are the biggest challenges, and I think they're going to be good for us.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off what you just said there, there are a lot of teams on our side of the conference who are either dealing with new head coaches or new head coaches and new quarterbacks. So it's kind of interesting that Georgia Tech, after 3 years of being that team that didn't really have all the veteran leadership, has now all of a sudden the tables have kind of turned, where Georgia Tech has got the guys who, are not struggling to figure out like where everything is or trying to adjust to new things. They've got guys who have been there for a little bit. And I also wanted to piggyback off something else you said, Patience, earlier. You were talking about, people kind of having the word rebuild as like a bad word. And I
Right.
feel like, and maybe you'll agree with me, I'm not sure, but I feel like part of the reason why people don't like that word with Georgia Tech is they equate rebuilding with failure,
Right.
as if to say that the previous players or the previous folks that were there weren't any good. That's why you got to rebuild it. And for me, it's not so much a rebuild, it's a retool. Because it's not that those other players weren't doing a good job. I mean, obviously we were winning games. It's just that those players were fit perfectly for that system.
Right.
And this is a completely different system, and it kind of doesn't work in their favor. Especially those first 2 years, you really saw it, where the offensive line was trying to do things that they probably hadn't done in a little while. For the players who had run a pro style offense in high school, but then turned around to learn the triple option. So
Right.
I always, and I get where former players are kind of feeling that way, because they don't want people to say, oh well, I wasn't any good, but yet I won all these games. So I get it, but I think a lot of people, they hang on that rebuild word. But for me personally, I don't look at it as a rebuild. I look at it as a retool, because you're trying to get guys to fit in and be able to maximize what they do really, really well. So that was just my opinion on that, Patience. I don't know if you agree with me though.
I 100% agree. I definitely agree with that. And I'm going to start using that retool. I like that. I like that. Sounds a little better than rebuild, but
Yeah, because usually when you hear about rebuilding, it's after, like, okay, I'll put this out there. I'm a Lions fan. Okay, we know all about rebuilding. Okay, so rebuilding and retooling are completely different things. Like, you go 0-16, it's time to rebuild. You go 8-8, a retool can get you where you got to go. So
there you go.
that's just my opinion. But again,
Catchy, but I like it.
but when I look at the transition that had to happen, it's crazy to me. Just how many things, I don't want to say how many things have gone wrong, but like how many challenges this staff has had to face, and it's like nobody talks about it, and I don't really understand why they don't. But it's like, okay, they had a pandemic. They had, unfortunately, 2 players pass away. There was a lot that happened in those first 2 years.
I was going to say early on too.
Yeah.
Like bam, bam, bam.
And I hear other people say, well, the pandemic affected all the other teams too. And it's like, okay, but think about it. Okay. Alabama being affected by the pandemic is different than Georgia Tech being affected by the pandemic, because Alabama's had the same staff of people for 10 years.
Right.
And they're able to, deal with things that come up. Whereas Georgia Tech had brand new people. They already have a challenge of trying to do their jobs to the best of their abilities because they're brand new. And then you tack on this thing as well. So for me, yes, has it been frustrating that the team hasn't won more games? Sure. But I also am a fan who understands my place in the organization, so to speak. Because there's never going to be,
you have to look at the big picture.
Yeah. And there's never going to be a situation where me as a fan am more upset about losing than the guys who are actually putting their bodies on the line, or the coaches whose livelihoods depend on a win or a loss. So, I think some folks in our fan base have got to chill out a little bit, and they're not going to like that I say that, but that's the truth.
It is the truth.
But I am very excited about this season. I think there's a lot of good things in the works. Jeff Sims having a quarterback coach for the first time since he's been at Georgia Tech, I think that's really great.
Difference maker for sure.
For sure. And I know that they also made a lot of noise about the fact that, the secondary is now going to be under one coach instead of split as 2. And I have to say, I understand why they split it as 2 to start out with, because that did make some sense to me.
It didn't make sense. Right.
But now they're like, okay, well, we don't want people throwing the ball deep on us every time it's 3rd and long and being able to complete it. So we need to do something different here. And this is, I think this year is going to be a lot of trial and hopefully not a lot of error. But you know me, Patience, I'm a huge fan of Coach Collins, huge fan of everything he's doing. Like you and I were talking before, when we decided that we wanted to do this podcast, we were like, hey, you and I are 2 big Georgia Tech fans. We're always talking about how great Georgia Tech is. And so when you get somebody in that head coaching spot who is saying sort of the same exact things you say,
we're sharing that same love.
Yeah, like that won me over. And so I'm rooting hard for Jeff Collins. Like I really hope that everything works out for him and the entire staff as
Totally
they go
agree.
into this season. So but I know I will be attempting to watch the game on September 5th. Are you going to be at the game, Patience?
I was about to say, no matter what happens, you can see me in section 213, row 2 in Bobby Dodd Stadium. I will be there in my seat cheering them on, no matter the outcome, the score. I don't care. I'll be there cheering them on, and I'm so ready, man. I cannot wait.
Now, are you going to the Mercedes-Benz game?
I am, yes, sir. It was included with our season ticket. So I'll actually be attending 11 out of 12 games this year. So it'll be the first time that I've made almost the whole schedule. So it's exciting for me. I'm definitely excited. A lot of road trips. So
Well,
and
hey,
hopefully a lot of victories.
I am excited for you. I know I give you a hard time, but I am excited for you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to be trying to figure out ways to watch the game. So if you get a message from me 3rd quarter and I'm like, hey, Facebook Live, please.
Got you.
That's what's going on. Patience, we got about 4 minutes left here. So I just want to, kind of recap things that we discussed earlier. Obviously folks who are watching this, hopefully you've had a good time watching this. I want to give Patience a shout out, and I hope I don't embarrass her when I say this, but this is the first time Patience has done anything like this. Okay, so we had a lot of goofs and a lot of bloopers getting this thing up for everybody. But we had a good time, and we hope that you had a good time as well. We're going to both grow from this. We're going to make this show as good as we possibly can this season for you. And all we ask in return is that you like, comment, and subscribe. See, I told you I wouldn't be obnoxious with it. And make sure to comment any questions you got, any topics you want us to discuss. Again, this was our first show, so we were kind of coming in, guns blazing, so to speak, with all sorts of different stuff. But we want to talk about what you want to talk about. So comment some things so that we can get those on the schedule for our next program. We're going to try to do this weekly. We'll see how it goes. And again, we appreciate you watching and tuning into our first episode. And I do want to mention, because I don't think I did earlier, if there's any former players out there that are watching this and you're saying, hey, like, I got topics, but I want to be the one to introduce it, let us know. We will get you on the show with a special guest. We'd love to interview you about your time, as a Yellow Jacket and all the things that you think are great about Georgia Tech. We'd love to do that. We are going to try to keep things as positive as we can. Just because, hey, these players are human beings, okay? Just like you and I are. So we are going to try to keep things positive. And we're going to have, like I said, I think we're going to have a fantastic time. Patience, we got 2 minutes left. Anything you'd like to say before we close up?
I think you got it all covered. Just ready to win. Just ready to have a great year and win. And, hopefully you'll be able to tune into some games.
I hope so. I hope so. This would be the one year where I can't tune into anything, but we win the national championship. And I'm telling you, if that happens, I took one for the team, and I just hope.
Sacrifice.
I hope that the team will take notice and let me get a picture at that field with no trash can. That would be
without the trash can.
Without the trash can. Yes. Patience, thank you so much for joining me. Stick around after I stop the recording here. And folks, again, comment and let us know what you want to hear about. Let us know what you thought about our first episode. And we appreciate you tuning in. Bold and gold, folks. Season is almost upon us.